Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 47 of Mythos Busters, where tonight I have no pithy intro prepared for you. I'm Sean, and joining me tonight are my 2 out of the 3 of my brothers in arms, or 2 out of the 4 perhaps, if you want to extend farther in the past. Ian. Hi, Ian.
Hi.
How are you?
I am excited to record, actually. It feels like it's been forever because we did like a actual in-person recording at Arkham Nights, but it's
accurate.
It's not the same as like this sitting down, our actual recording. And like I was kind of worried, not a huge worry, but I thought maybe Arkham Nights would sap my will to Arkham a bit. But it hasn't. If anything, it's only stoked the flames more, I feel like, to talk about the game and play it.
Yep, I have to agree. Normally, I mean, I put it on like a 2-day freeze, but normally
Sure.
I expect that to be like a full week, couple weeks, especially when like something like Red Dead Redemption 2 drops and I have a good excuse to ignore everything else in existence. But Arkham has still been getting its fair share of play, so yep, I agree. Joining as well tonight is Scott. Hi, Scott.
Good evening.
How are thee?
I'm pretty good. Similar to Ian, I thought I'd want a bigger break from Arkham. Turns out I am a fiend for the game. You know what I think it feels like is, I don't know if you guys have ever driven like manual transmission vehicles, but you know, like if you switch too early and the engine kind of goes like brrrr as it gets into the, like, if you go from second to third but you shouldn't have gone to third yet. That's how I feel I switch into Arkham after Arkham Knights. Like I'm just like, okay, I got to get back into it, and then all of a sudden I'm going faster than I was before. Is how I see it.
You know what it is too? Like the 4-player, like as someone who plays mostly solo, those 4-player games are such a high that it's like you just want more after that. You know?
You guys got any more of that 4-player?
Yeah, multiplayer is a thing, man. There's a beautiful chaos to it, right? Like, and Iron Man was so fun. Of course, if you probably have noticed at this point that not joining us tonight is Nick. He is actually at a gaming weekend that I'm missing out on just because I had no spiritual energy left for... I don't know, man. Like, I miss those guys, and I'm sad that they're off RPing without me, but I couldn't do 4 weekends in a row going away to game. Like, as much as I love it, I needed a weekend here. And aside from recording with you guys, I have done zilch since Friday at 3. It's been amazing. So we've got a fun show set up for you guys. We're going to do our normal regular segments at the beginning, news, community, what have you, and then we're going to pound through a couple of discussion topics today, depending on how expansive we want them to be. And then, of course, we'll round it out with a little bit of technical time. So, before we hop into any like real business, I want to catch up with you guys, because obviously we caught up very well at Arkham Knights, and we played a ton of Arkham there. What have you guys been playing since?
Oh, a lot of TFA.
Yep.
Unfortunately, just getting ready to finish. Oh, and I can't wait.
You can't wait to finish?
I can't wait to finish in both the best way and the worst way. So, as in like, oh man.
I just want to put a friggin' period at the end of the sentence, man. That's all I want.
Yeah. Because as soon as that period shows up, now I can like super game the campaign, right? And then I'm like,
you put all the
right.
proofreading marks back in the sentence and see what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing, my newest campaign is, I've kind of been having a Finn renaissance, so Finn Solo was like...
Dude, he is like one of the newest batch. Can you call it a renaissance yet?
Yes, the reason why is this, because as the expert on this cast of all things rogue, like, he didn't grab me at first. Like, he was just kind of there, and I was like, he's a rogue, he's Finn. And, you know, I have my, of course, Jenny, Safina's awesome. and Skids is interesting, and always is always kind of like a challenge to play. But Finn, I was like, eh. But I say it's a Finn Renaissance now because like now I feel like I've hit the stride of figuring out how to really get him going, and that has led to a lot of fun. And then also because I started a Finn two-handed, I've only been playing him in solo. I was like, okay, he's great in solo. Let's see how he does, and once you raise to 2 players. I'm playing a Finn and Ursula campaign, actually. Because I wanted something different. I was like, I always, the default is like the killer and the clover. Let me do like 2 people who can get clues, but they're super dodgy. And then I'll have Finn be more on the killer side. And that campaign is probably my most fun campaign I've run through TFA so far, even though TFA still is...
it just won't let you love it, will it? It will not let me love it. I want to flip. I don't want to be grumpy.
Yeah. But the Finn-like style of killer is really fun. Oh, and I will say this was kind of sparked because talking in our mod chat about Iron Man next year, Nick was kind of throwing out, like, what if we had more dodgy characters, like, instead of just, the standard, like, killer. So, anyway, can you guys guess what is kind of the unsung hero of that deck, which is a really card that I've used a ton?
So in a Finn that leans killer?
Yep.
Huh.
My instinct says Fire Axe, but I don't think you're going to run Finn that close to 0 resources.
Yeah, I thought about it, but no. No Fire Axe in there.
I'm out.
It's not an asset, I'll give a clue. It's an event or a skill.
I was going to say, like, Sneak Away?
Slip
But
away.
that's not really killer.
Yeah, that is in there, and it has done some work here and there. So it's actually a Hatchet Man. So that's the skill you commit, and then the next damage it takes gets increased by 1. So I've used that in conjunction with Sneak Attack to take out the stupid Brotherhood cultists without having to make a single fight attack. I've used that combo a lot, actually. And then
you still have to make a single one, though, right?
Well, you have to make the evade check, but you don't have to actually make a fight, so the Brotherhood cultist isn't going to get a doom on it, is what I meant.
Oh, Sneak Attack. Gotcha. Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
yes,
You said
yeah.
Sneak Attack. I heard Backstab. We're good.
Yeah. So dodge it with Hatchet Man, and then Sneak Attack hits it for 3, which is, it's so good to take care of those stupid 3 health enemies, which there's a ton of in TFA. Yeah.
Chief among them, that stupid Brotherhood cultist. God.
Yep.
So I oscillate between loving the design of that card and hating everything that card chooses to be, because I've just gotten stuck with it so many times. Like, if you get a mysterious chanting on that thing when you weren't expecting it or weren't accounting for it, you can just be hosed.
Mm-hmm.
Just
or if
absolutely
you just
hosed.
I feel like it's such a good tentacle summoner, because whenever I have this killer attack lined up, it fails, and then you have an uphill battle to climb with the stupid doom it gets. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the Finn, and it's been so much fun. It's just a whole different style of killer. And now I have the bow on him, so he's probably one of the best, if not the best, bow wielders in my opinion, because he gets a free evade, so you can easily restring your bow when you need to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I, as part of my ongoing attempts to fall back in love with the Forgotten Age, I started up a new campaign. Ian, watching you play that Safina build that's mostly a Mystic build at Iron Man was inspiring, and I remembered how frickin' fun Safina can be. So I was like, all right, Safina seems like a really good fit for Forgotten Age. Let's run that. And then Calvin. I've yet to try Calvin. I've been ambivalent on him the whole time. All y'all are telling me how cool Calvin is. So Safina and Calvin running through Forgotten Age. Mm-hmm. And it has been an adventure, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It has been an adventure.
I bet.
So, and I guess this is my first campaign with Calvin, and that's also been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just make the long story short. Going into Boundary Beyond, I had 4 physical and 3 mental trauma on Calvin.
Oof.
So things weren't looking great. I was using almost all of his experience to just keep stocked up on the cards that'll save him. Like I had, 2 Devil's Luck and, Ward of Protection, that sort of thing. But it ended up not being enough. Going through Heart of the Elders, you ever have just one of those campaigns where it seems like everything lines up exactly the way the encounter deck wanted it to?
Mm-hmm.
This was one of those campaigns for me. I'm sitting, I'm working my way through Elders. I can't remember. I lost an ally at some point, so now all of a sudden, Calvin's sitting at 5 and 5 with nothing to soak it.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh god.
That's called the danger zone.
Redlining it hard. Red spelled with a W. And I've got 2 luckies in my hand, so I have 1 test to make on this treachery that I was trying to explore. I can't remember if it was like ants or something that dealt a direct damage. Anyway, the whole point of the story is it was down to this moment in the campaign. I had all of my stats where I wanted them to be. I had 2 luckies in hand. Literally the only thing that would have killed me is the tentacle. So assuredly, guess who walks through the bag?
What'd you draw? Oh, perfect.
No, I definitely drew the tentacle, and Calvin legitimately died, and I conceded that campaign. So yeah,
as you do.
Now, as you do. So Calvin's interesting. I mean, I'm sure a lot of that was me just learning Calvin because he really operates differently. Forgotten Age might also not be his best venue, just because I feel like the normal rhythm of Calvin is going to be moving through your campaign, kind of hitting your trauma as you go, hopefully a little bit more slowly than the Forgotten Age deals it out.
Yeah, I feel like TFA is kind of like, if you took him through Carcosa or Dunwich, I think you'd have a very different experience with him. TFA seems like, I mean, the fact that it deals out the trauma, there's that, and I think that the other 2 campaigns, you can be more of a generalist, whereas in TFA, I think TFA asks for rolls a lot more than the previous campaigns. Like, you need someone who is a clover, you need someone who is doing enemy management, whether that be killing or evading, and Calvin's just kind of super middle ground. Yeah,
and I tried to build him to lean a little bit more killer, because Safina is, Safina's Safina. She's toolboxy, but I think particularly in Ian's build, which I kind of appropriated, she leans more clover. But oh man, I had real issues with ultimately what killed that campaign. Like overall, if I'm looking at on the macro level, it was damage efficiency. Because 3 scenarios in, Calvin's starting at 3. He gets some tools. Like he can hit things easily. Like Calvin missed nary a combat check, but he's only dealing 1 damage for most of them. So it was too slow to deal with some of the things that Forgotten Age requires that you deal with.
Yeah, so anyway, that was the problem with my Lola Calvin ultimately, which died in City of Archives, was that he could do a lot of things, but just needing to be able to kill things quicker. Yeah.
So I've moved on then, because our original topic for tonight was to cover Heart of the Elders and and City of Archives. We're not doing that tonight, but in my effort to try to get caught up so that we could, I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll revive one of my other campaigns. So my most interesting Forgotten Age campaign also involves Finn. It is Finn and Silas. And that one, that's an interesting campaign. I will say nothing in my experience with Finn has convinced me that you guys, what you guys have been saying, that the whole 1 willpower thing is not that big a deal. Nothing that I've experienced has convinced me otherwise. But I will say, Finn is still solid, and despite the fact that he can't hit a damn willpower test to save his life, we're still going. He's only got 1 mental trauma so far.
Literally to save his life.
Literally.
Like, not... yeah.
No problems over here.
I think all these people with green names in the chat are just cheaters, and they're just
or deck stackers. I don't know, man. Like
I mean, you didn't get the fact from that we're rogues.
When I was giving you guys the salty play-by-play as I was going through earlier for Heart, like Finn drew Voice of the Jungle, like one of his first tests, or one of his first Mythos phases, and I was in a position with my board where the circuitous trail, if you guys remember, that requires you to spend 3 resources to investigate or explore it. The circuitous trail was my only location out that would yield me a location from exploring. So I sat on that damn location for like 4 turns trying to get another location just on the board, drawing treachery after treachery. So he drew into Voice of the Jungle in one of his first Mythos phases, and then I'm sitting here trying to explore. Boom, draws into Lost in the Wilderness. And it's like, well, Agnes would have been fine.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the thing, I don't want to reopen this whole argument, but my whole thing is like
I'm poking you real hard.
Every investigators have their weakness, so like how is that any worse than Daisy if she doesn't have a spell out and gets hit with like an unlucky enemy early on? She's just dead and can't do anything about it because she doesn't have combat or evade for anything, you know? Like I don't see how that's any worse. It's just a different problem.
Well, that problem specifically that you described is why I generally don't play true solo. Like, this is a two-handed campaign. The idea is the investigators can smooth out each other's rough edges, but willpower is harder to spread, I would say, than is most things that would test either your combat or agility. Or intellect, for that matter.
True, but I think there's ways of working around it that, like, my fan campaigns are both some of the most successful so far in TFA, so to me that speaks of something. Because some investigators who others might say are better on paper, like, have struggled more than Finn has in the campaign. Because I think willpower's I guess it goes back to what I probably said in another cast, that potentially it's more swingy, that if you do get hit by those effects, then like the wrong encounter card combos, then yeah, you can get screwed, but that doesn't always happen.
But when it does...
Sure,
I guess my memory is long.
But I mean, that's Arkham in general, right? Like, if the cards fall wrong and it happens to hit your investigator's weakness, like... That's there's pretty much little you can do about it.
Except play multiplayer.
I guess.
All right, agree to disagree.
Okay.
So
this was our I was gonna say bi-weekly, but our bi-monthly debate about one willpower.
Hashtag willpower matters. All right, so Ian, why don't you catch us up on our patrons?
Okay, and so as always, thank you to those who have pledged, supported us on Patreon, much appreciated, and we're keep trucking along to that $200 musical episode goal.
Also,
so help support us get there, please.
Yes, that, and also we're hoping that the space will be set up for use next episode. So bear with us. We should be able to give everyone the full tour next time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so other things. So as always, we want to give thanks to patrons. We want to give thanks to the members of our board of directors, Chris Basie and Ian Redmond Wallace.
Woo!
Thanks so much for your huge support of the cast.
We're both here tonight. Hey, guys.
And then we have some new job titles. So we have Chris Hodovich, or Hodovic. I apologize if I did not pronounce your name properly. You can correct me. Chris is going to have the title of Regional Director of Uses Charges. So all of your uses charges needs go through Chris. You can fill out the forms properly if you need to. And David Alton we are appending the title of Esquire to his name. David is going to be in charge of acquisitions and solicitation at the Mythos Busters offices. So when we inevitably get sued, he'll be defending us.
Excellent. Excuse me, I'm still clearing my throat from like 3 weeks ago.
Sure. And so, as promised, this is going to be where we complete our first patron contest. We said we are going to run it until the end of October, and we're going to pick some winners. So first, I have our handy random generator up, and we'll go ahead and pick 2 winners who are going to receive the sets of our alternate promos that we made for Gen Con. And also, for those of you who are wearing Arkham Knights, we made promos for Arkham Knights as well, which are upgraded versions of the emergency quiche.
Because if if Mythos Busters are good at anything, it is rehashing the same joke 16 times.
Okay, but the first ones were tasty. Level 2 is tastier. Level 3 is tastiest. Traded. So
I approve.
Just saying.
Yeah, that was pretty much the impetus for creating them in the first place. Was just that tiny change to the trait. So.
Yep.
and you don't want to reheat quiche, man. Like it gets weird.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so our first winner, of the special alternate art promos that we made is actually someone who just got one of our job titles, Chris Hodovich. He is winning one of those sets of our alternate art promos. Congratulations. The other one, bear with me while you guys talk amongst ourselves while I count down the list to 23.
Let me see if I can find a drum roll gif. Yeah, come on, internet. Nice.
Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy Fredin is also winning a set of our alternate art promos. So congratulations, Jeremy.
Nice.
And finally,
and also congratulations to Germany. Just because.
Yeah. And finally, we will draw for our grand prize, which is a set of the goodies from Arkham Knights, which includes a bunch of stuff. It includes Lola poster, playmat, scenario. What else? Dice.
The Drawn to the Flame alt art card.
Drawn to the Flame alt art cards.
Early release copy of not Guardians of the Abyss. Knight's Usurper.
Mm-hmm. Alternate art. Not alternate art, but promo Ashcan for Arkham 3rd Edition, which is pretty cool.
And Daniela Reyes for Elder Sign.
Mm-hmm.
And giant-ass acrylic tokens that no one's ever going to actually use.
You can make a display out of them. So this is that all is going to be yours, which is huge. I mean, these prize packs are going for ungodly amounts on eBay. It's kind of crazy. So pause while I count down, please.
I saw one of them go for over $200.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was the whole bag, but yeah. But
Does
there's
FFG
been
realize that they're sitting on a gold mine if they were to somehow figure out a way to sell these promos? Like, people would buy a pack of these promos.
Well,
like
they'd have
halfway
to make
through
a
the
product
life
on
of the
time. That's the issue.
Oh,
right?
yeah. See, that is tough. That is tough.
Yeah, so you're getting a prize pack valued at $200. So our grand prize winner is Mark Aston. Congratulations, Mark.
Nice.
Woo!
Woo! So if we have your address on file at Patreon, we'll send it to you. If not, we'll send you an email to try to get your details so we can ship that off to you.
I like how Sean's still clapping.
Someone had to. All right, excellent. So again, if you have not checked out our Patreon, if you want to do such a thing and support the show, and of course be entered in all of the cool little extra prizes that we do for our patrons, please check us out at patreon.com/mythosbusters. We have many options for you to pledge.
We also have a random patron to thank, Vilma Della Vaca. Thank you for supporting us.
All right.
Awesome.
There has to be a story there, but we're going to gloss over it.
I don't know what that name means.
Something of a cow. That's all I got out of that. I'm like 6 years removed from the last Spanish class I took.
Vaca is cow?
Yep.
Oh. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. So, moving on then, for our community highlights this week. Did either of you guys want to take this, or should I just hop in?
Just hop in.
We'll just hop in. All right. So, we are spotlighting the Twisted Tentacle Inn, which is a YouTube channel kept by innkeeper Vase Odin. So if you guys haven't checked out the content on this channel yet, I would definitely recommend you do so. He's got some really cool videos out there, generally ranging in the 30 minutes or less kind of area. And his flagship series is the Know Your Investigator series, which, prior to our show, I hopped on and watched a couple because I'd seen them when they first came out, but it's been a while. And they're really cool. So he goes through and he kind of goes through the story background of each investigator that's been released in the game so far. Or I don't know if he has them all out there, but what I'm saying is they're all the ones that have actually been released in this game. And then he goes through the, play implications and talks about how you build the deck. And it's just kind of an all-encompass, like, hey, you want to learn about Mark? Here we go. Type package. So I thought those were really cool. Anything else you guys wanted to call out?
As far as community stuff?
No, as far as Twisted Tentacle specifically.
Oh, he's got a couple playthroughs there that I've actually kind of... Like, I don't usually watch a lot of YouTube things, but I've put them on, like, in the background, and I found it actually quite interesting where whatever I'm doing, I slowly start to look over at YouTube, and then I lose 20 minutes. So.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Yep, so Twisted Tentacle Inn on YouTube. If you haven't checked it out, do so. Ian.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some news.
We have. We were not expecting news, and this news is kind of what prompted us to change our topic at the last minute, because we're like, oh, there's lots of stuff to talk about now. For once, they dropped the news before we recorded instead of after. So, we got the first Mythos pack of the Circle Undone cycle announced, and this is the secret name. And I'm so excited, you guys, because I've said it a few times on this cast, but Dreams in the Witch House is my favorite Lovecraft story, and we're actually going to get a freaking scenario in the Witch House, and Brown Jenkins is called out on one of the agendas. Like, every time I think, like, oh, Matt won't actually do this, like, we get an actual Witch House scenario. I thought it was...
Who knew that we would get both Diana and Brown Jenkins in the same cycle?
This is the cycle of
life is
Mythos
balanced.
It's almost like Matt's like, oh, you want Diana, do you? Okay, that's fine. We'll put Brown Jenkins in there. He's the elder god, by the way.
I hope so.
Although I do want to know, and I am an adherent now. All hail Lord Jenkins.
Very good.
That was a turn. So while Diana escaped from the cult, Sean took a swan dive straight into the cult. That's what I'm hearing. I'm so excited to see what his art looks like.
I'm gonna guess creepy.
What he's gonna do.
I'm gonna guess just like, at least somewhat unsettling.
That's a safe bet.
Oh man, it'd be great if Matt included in the art direction like a picture of Sean and said like incorporate this into the face.
It should be like a picture of like a Sean-looking character at a table, like looking like he's gonna play a game or record, and then Brown Jenkins is just over her shoulder in the shadows.
Oh, so perfect.
I had to wonder what a Sean-looking character would look like, but I don't want to know, so don't tell me.
No, I mean like Brown Jenkins, like put his face, make it look like Sean.
Okay.
I would offer my likeness for that in a hot second.
So yeah, this scenario is going into the Witch House, and I can't explain how excited I am. I'm gonna have to listen to the Witch House musical some more, which I already do a ton anyway. So
you still need to send me the link for that. I have not, but I must.
Yes, Witch House rocks. If you haven't heard me mention that before, I highly recommend listening to it. It's a rock musical set based on the Dreams in the Witch House story. It's amazing. So we also got some player cards announced, and not just regular player cards, a whole new type of player cards. We got dual class, golden, bright gold player cards announced. This is going to be a new addition to the game. Not sure whether it'll be contained to this cycle or continue after. We'll have to see, but what are you guys' first thoughts on these dual class cards just in general, I guess? Just the idea of dual class.
Oh my god, it's so amazing. And also, it's about damn time. Both at the same time.
I just hope we can come to a consensus at some point in the community about how they account toward deck building rules.
Yeah.
Because I've been waiting for that consensus to land to decide how I feel about the cards, because some of them it kind of makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I'm very excited at the prospect.
Yeah, just this idea. So the community has kind of been not tearing itself apart, but tearing their collective hair out over this idea of like how do these count towards people who can take, like, say Finn can take 5 Seeker or Survivor cards, or Carolyn can take a certain amount of Mystic and Seeker and Heals Horror. Like, how does it interact with that? How does it interact with Lola? My own personal thing is Lola. I'm just like, just wait until we get the actual rules in our hands and then we can argue about it. But, you know, that's not going to stop anyone from mulling over rules all day.
What's the point of arguing over rules if you can't argue over rules even? I mean, that's part of being a devotee of the rules.
I'm just curious how they will be used, because the class system has been pretty well established in the game. And by that, I mean that, like, each class can do similar things just in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But this is... I'm just wondering how this is going to, like, interact with that, and... like, what makes a dual class card worthy of being a dual class card, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
anyone else
good
just
question.
Go ahead and peg an investigator for each of these? Like Grizzly Totem, I was like, oh, that's Min.
Well, yeah, because that's her colors. But yes,
yeah.
I understand. Oh.
Well, why don't we go ahead and read them, and then we can talk about that some more. So let's start with Scroll of Secrets. Yeah, it has some purple on it. So, Sean, why don't you read Scroll of Secrets?
I can do that. Scroll of Secrets is a level 0 Seeker and Mystic card. It costs 1, has an intellect icon, it has the item and tome traits, and it uses 3 secrets. Like, we've answered that question, and I still can never bloody remember when we do this.
Uses.
Okay, uses 3 secrets. Action: exhaust Scroll of Secrets and spend 1 secret. Look at the bottom card of any investigator's deck or the encounter deck. Then either discard that card, add it to its owner's hand, place it on the bottom of its deck, or place it on the top of its deck, and it takes up a hand slot. So,
see, to answer your question about what makes these dual class, that is totally Seeker and Mystic, right? Because a Seeker card would be like, look at the top card, either draw it or discard it. Mystic is like, look at the bottom card and then do whatever the hell you want with it, right? Like, it's that to me is what makes dual class, I think.
So this is a great Daisy card. Daisy was the investigator I pegged for this one, just because she's got that tome action, and whenever you've got like an ancillary effect like this, like scrying or even Old Book of Lore in anyone but Daisy, I look at it and I go, how often do I feel like I have the action to spare to do something like this? But Daisy doesn't care.
So what do you guys imagine using this card for? Like,
well, the super secret tech is for extracurricular activity.
Yes.
Because Jazz Mulligan is always at the bottom of the encounter deck, so you just go find him.
Extracurricular has been solved now.
I think because it's tome action, Sean, you have it correct. Like, this is such a... how do I put this? Like, I don't want to say it's a weak ability, but it's not super strong. But when it's free because you're Daisy, or you get an extra action for it, if you're playing solo, like true solo, this is actually, I think, kind of decent, because you can maybe combine this with maybe like upgraded scrying, so you can look at the top card and be like, oh, I don't want to deal with that yet. And maybe look at the bottom card of the encounter deck and be like, oh, that's totally easy to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, you can jank around some stuff. I just wonder if that's like a good economy of actions or not. Like, are you spending too much time adjusting decks and not enough time like getting clues, fighting enemies, advancing the scenario?
That's always my struggle, is like, I want most of the actions I take in the game to be offensive actions, fighting enemies, getting clues, moving to where I need to do either of those two things. Anything else has to be good to get, to get any actual notice.
And the fact that it's the bottom of the deck, like, because I can imagine uses like, okay, you can access the bottom of your deck, and maybe like it's just essentially like extra card draw, grab something there that's good. But like, you can only find room for so many effects like that in your deck, like you guys are saying. So wouldn't you just run, like, if you want card draw, wouldn't you just run Old Book of Lore? Or if you really want to look at the encounter deck, wouldn't you just have Alyssa or Scrying and just look at the top deck instead of the bottom deck?
BD Flory in the chat brings up a good point. If you have Doomed or
Sure.
the Bell Tolls or stuff, like, really, when it puts it on the bottom of your deck, you just use the scrolls, discard it, and you're good for that scenario.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll concede as a Band-Aid card for Doomed. I don't know, that
Best
seems
weakness
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, because there was a mechanic in certain quests in Lord of the Rings in a certain cycle where it cares about the bottom card of your deck, like an enemy would discard the bottom card of your deck and like get +2 attack if you have if it's below a certain cost, that kind of thing. So I wonder if in this cycle maybe we get those kind of mechanics happening, and so it would behoove us to look at the bottom card of our deck. I don't know if that will happen, but just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if there's a specific problem that needs solving and this solves it, then great. But right now, I'm not 100%. Like, anything that costs an action, like, dude, I know I hammer this home every time we talk about it. But if it says action, it needs to be good. Because action is... That is the most important thing you spend all game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny
It's what
because
the click economy is based on, right?
the good old click economy.
Yes, Scott, it is. Incorrectly, but that's what it's based on.
I completely agree, though. An action has to be a valuable action.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like the jankiest and most fun uses I can think of this require Survivor, because they're the ones who care about, like, if you could, like, use this to discard cool stuff onto your discard pile. There's Survivor gators that would care about that, but no.
Or dumb luck. You miss evading an enemy, put it on top of the encounter deck, and then you put a different card on top of that so you can avoid it for another turn. Wombo combo, nailed it.
So you just have to teamwork this over to Survivor, right?
That's only like 4
No,
cards,
Agnes.
right?
Agnes can take it.
Okay.
And she has decent evade.
Sure. Yeah, no,
Nailed it. Still nailed it. Go me.
I guess in a team someone could do that, yeah.
Because Agnes really seems like the one to evade something, then use dumb luck, then
Agnes
use
is
this.
definitely what I would call a defensive investigator, guys.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one then. So let's have Scott read the Grizzly Totem, because that has some red on it.
All right. Unless you want to, because it's the only rogue one we have.
And it also has yellow.
No, I'm reading the Tennessee Sour Mash, because that's
Oh,
that's
sorry.
rogue. Yeah.
I thought you said Tennessee to Sour Mash. Never mind. I was looking at the card fan. Okay. Grizzly Totem is a 3-cost asset, is both Survivor and Seeker, my 2 favorite classes. It has an agility pip. It's an item and a charm. And reaction, after you commit a card to a skill test, exhaust Grizzly Totem, that card gains another instance of one of its skill icons of your choice, and it takes up the accessory slot. So, Min?
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems okay.
It's a big time min card. for
Honestly,
sure.
I like this in Rex as well. Rex cares about hitting high tests, like the little 3-cost guy for an extra point per turn. That's not bad. Although
like
it's competing with the Lucky Cigarette Case, which is my favorite splash in Rex right now.
I like this in a lot of survivors, actually.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing something like
Silas! What about Silas? I never even thought about that.
or like a Desperate Duke. Like this,
Or Desperate Duke? Okay.
The only thing about Ashcan is it takes up one of his 5 splashes. Unfortunately, because it has the Seeker. It counts as a Seeker card for that.
Yeah.
These cards are a stealth nerf to the Dunwich Investigators.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just thinking.
That being said, they are some of the best investigators in the game. Like, their power level as like a cycle of investigators is high.
Sure.
So, I think I'm okay with that.
Their flexibility of builds, because you can pull from anywhere. Yeah. Okay. No, yeah. I'm cool with it.
I like this one in general. Like, I think, like, of course you can get the most use with those investigators we mentioned, but like, I'm just thinking about going, because it was something me and Scott talked about, I think on one of the Abandoned and Alone, or maybe before the episode, about how like slowly transitioning away from using a lot of skill cards and just using like lots of assets of events that have the pips you want and just commit them when you need them. And if you have Grizzly Totem, all of a sudden, like, those all become double pips. Like, you might as well have skill cards in your deck. Like, I don't know. I just see a lot of value out of that, I think. Especially if you're going with that style.
And I mean, even this far in the game, like, the accessory slot in certain decks can be, like, you're fighting, like, you have 2 assets vying for viability, or whatever you want to call it, or use there. But I don't think it's still not a super crowded spot as far as great cards go. And I think depending on a niche deck, there's a lot of niche accessories that you could use. So like this could be one of those niche cards.
You guys have been sitting here saying poignant things for a little while, but I'm just sitting here looking at this totem, wondering where you hold on to it. It's all eyes and teeth. Like, where's the handle?
That's why it's so grisly. What about Wendy is Survivor and she can take Opportunist? What about Wendy Opportunist with this?
Oh, a Succeed by 2 Wendy. Ooh, a Succeed by 2 Wendy.
I heard the underside of Scott's table move.
Yeah. Well, guess I'm proxying this one tonight.
There goes your plans. You're like, clear my schedule.
Okay. Speaking of Wendy, though, Ian, I think you need to read your card.
Okay.
Speaking of Wendy,
well,
she's like 12.
This game has long past caring about her age.
Yeah. She can have liquid courage, so she's good.
But should?
Does.
Semantics at that point, I suppose.
The next card is Tennessee Sour Mash. We got some more booze in our hands. This is a 3-cost asset with 1 will. Icon, item, and illicit traded. Uses 2 supplies, free action, exhaust, Tennessee Sour Mash, and spend 1 supply. You get +2 will for a skill test on a treachery card. Action, discard Tennessee Sour Mash. Fight, you get +3 combat for this attack. That's so amazing. So when you're done drinking it all, you just break it over the bar and stab someone with it, or smash it over their head.
Gets Wendy to 4 fight. It's pretty good. Just a drunken orphan with a broken bottle. Oh my god.
I love this card. It's so good.
It seems like a decent Finn card, too.
Oh, yeah, I'd run it for sure, just because you get him for 1 to 3 will, and at first I was
all of a sudden you stand a popsicle's chance in hell at passing a test.
Yeah, at first I was like, there's only 2 supplies, but realistically you only really need to pass maybe like 2 crucial will tests, so if you can get into the 3 range, pop an unexpected courage, you're up to 5, then you can pass those key tests.
And I think the cool thing about this too is it's on a treachery card, so something like Frozen in Fear, when you know the test is coming up, this is like 2 unexpected courages you can use towards that, or 2 guts, or whatever you want to call it.
I'd prefer we call it guts.
Sure.
Although it
But
is
we do-
probably closer to Unexpected Courage because you won't draw a card afterward. So I'll accept Unexpected Courage.
Thank you. But it doesn't have to be the card coming as it's like in the Mythos phase, right? And what's that one, Sean, that Finn just died to? Lost in the Jungle?
Yeah, it was the combo of Voices of the Jungle and Lost in the Wilderness.
Right, Voices. Voice is the one where you test willpower to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So like those ones I find are the ones that and Frozen in Fear really lock down Skids and Finn. I think this is a really good one actually for Skids as well because it does give that willpower boost, and he could make this super fight attack, and because he can take Guardian, he could have a vicious blow on top of that to make it a pretty decent attack. So.
Or Hatchet Man, perhaps.
Yep. Or double or
maybe.
nothing on top of that too. If you're getting
Yeah.
+3 combat, you might be able to pull off a double or nothing.
We just walked 3 steps into rogue territory. I'm uncomfortable.
It's a
Yeah.
good place.
I feel dirty.
right now.
Watch your pockets. It'll be fine.
I feel dirty. I'd say I need a shower, but I'm feeling more roguelike now. I don't know.
Wow. You mean procedurally generated? Because it's a roguelike. Okay, no, we won't go
God.
down that way.
I gotcha.
I'm really sad that the Enchanted Blade in this card fan did not see a little bit more, because it's, oh man, they must have so much fun setting up these card fans. There's just enough showing that it's
Yes. The biggest one to me is Relic. Like,
yeah.
because now Ursula can take it.
Ursula can take it, yeah.
You know,
And
plus
what-
1 attack for this. And
Something about empower,
initiate
it
this.
looks like.
Empower.
Yeah.
The word empower is in there, right? Because there is no other word in the English language that starts M
Yeah.
and ends power, right?
damn power.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm excited for it because it's apparently a Diana card, because we know that her off class is going to be Guardian, right? We are of agreeance on that.
It would make the most sense, I think.
Or maybe she's going to be like Mateo and just not have an off class.
I would, okay, if she's, I'd prefer her be more like Ursula, where she doesn't have an off class, but she's got some access elsewhere.
It could be, or takes cards that like cancel or ignore.
Yeah,
Something like
I'd
I'd
say
be-
something
okay.
like that. Like Carolyn, like the way Carolyn says you can take heal horror cards, right?
I would accept that. I would accept that.
With the sour mash coming, we're getting closer to a Finn like illicit booze runner deck. We can have liquid courage. We just need a few more booze items,
Contraband.
and then we can and we'll be there.
We
That
need a
really
booze running card.
Do we only have 2 alcohol cards in the game at this point?
Yes,
It's funny because I feel like, and maybe it's just because of where we sit in history, but it feels like the cultural tenor of the 20s revolves so much about alcohol and prohibition.
because it was forbidden fruit. So.
Well, yeah.
yeah.
So what
But
happens?
so many of the characters and stories involve bootleggers and all that. So yeah. So that's about it for the new player cards, but they're a doozy.
So one thing that was mentioned in our Discord when this news thing dropped, which luckily I was not working because it was one of those days where like you check back an hour later and there's like 400 messages. But the question was brought up: do you think we're gonna have one card for each set? Because there's like 10 different combinations, right? Are we gonna have a card for each? Because I kind of hope we do.
My Lord of the Rings background would tell me that there will be one card for each, but they would be in different. Some will be assets, some will be events, some will be level 0, some will be level cards. Like they're going to be all over the place, like as far as like where they sit in the pool. But I think that would probably be where we go with it.
There was one guy in Discord that said it'll probably be just 9 of the 10 just to drive us nuts. Like,
Which one do you think gets left out?
Ooh. Survivor Guardian.
Survivor Guardian. So old Yorick gets the boot.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't have a better answer. I was just curious.
Yeah. I guess the only... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna throw a whole new can of worms in there, so go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the only thing I find unbelievable is there was also people complaining about these cards because they're like, "How am I gonna organize these?" I'm like, that's your complaint?
Leave
Like
it to
an
nerds.
amazing new card type?
I
Oh my
think they're
God.
gonna take me a while to get used to because I'll probably have to store them in their own section, and then when I'm deck building, I'll forget they exist. Like I remember when they introduced side quest in Lord of the Rings, I'd keep forgetting to think about them when I'm deck building at first.
I think I'm just gonna have them all in one section. Like these are the multi-class cards, and then whenever I'm deck building, I first grab those cards and just fan through them. But
First step. We didn't touch really on Lola's, is what I was gonna say, in Lola's interaction with these cards because we don't know the rules exactly, but potentially it's good for Lola that she can, if she has these, she can be a bit more flexible.
Because they count toward 2 for each class that they're a part of, right?
correct. And
But
so she,
have we decided whether or not she can actually trigger them?
I believe the rules is yes, she can because she can play cards of her class. And it says you
And they
you
are of her
can-
class. They are just also of another class.
Yes.
Okay.
That being said, what's it called? Her weakness just got a whole lot more dangerous.
It sure did. And you know what? It was pretty dangerous before, guys, regardless of what anyone else would say.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm missing with my partner in crime, Nick. So
Yeah, I know. We got you outnumbered this time.
Grizzly Totem could be interesting in Lola because she uses a lot of neutral skills anyway. So get more bang for your buck there. Yeah. Okay, I guess even though I don't want to, we can stop talking about these cards now. We can move on now.
All right. Scott, so we mentioned on our Arkham Knights wrap-up episode that there was a sneaky little FAQ update. Anything from that that's worth mentioning on the cast?
Yeah, just Skeleton Key now works the way it should. So you can't pick it up and put it at a location from like 3 locations away. You have to be at your location.
It's not Mjolnir Key anymore.
No, it's you. If you're at a location, you can pick it up, and if you have it, you can put it back down. It works the way you think it should. So that's it.
No more Dragon Zord summoning it across the map.
Yeah, pretty much. Playing
Okay.
that stupid little flute that the White Ranger had, or the Green Ranger.
No, it was the Green Ranger.
How dare you?
Skeleton Key.
And then instead of like getting in the Zord, he would sit off site and continue to play his knife flute to summon or to direct the Zord. Oh God, Power Rangers!
How is he
Such
blowing into the
wonderful
flute?
garbage.
Through his helmet. I don't get it.
He has ways, Scott. He has ways.
He blows in mysterious ways.
All right, so let's move it on into our main topic tonight, which would be main topics. So we put it out to our patrons that if at any point you have a question that you'd like us to discuss on the podcast proper, you can submit that to us. And we've had a couple of those questions come in. So we're going to discuss them on the podcast as per our promise. So, starting out, this one comes from Josh P. Hi, Josh. Don't, yeah, I think he's driving right now, so he probably won't type back to us.
Don't swerve.
So he wanted us to take a look and share what cards we think are the most underrated cards right now, the hidden gems that we would want other people to discover. So I feel like we'll do this in kind of a round robin because I actually feel like we're probably going to agree on a few of these. But guys, what do you think are some of the cards out there that people need to either take a first look or a second look at? I have a premonition about what you guys are going to say.
Oddly enough, that one made it on my list as well.
I'm seeing it coming right now.
I would put mine there. I would put Premonition there as well.
Because, guys, I don't know if you've played it yet. And if you've played it, I don't know if you've played it properly yet. But properly applied, Premonition is like Lucky level good.
Yes. I'd say better than Lucky.
Okay, I was gonna say that, but I wanted to pull it back a bit because I know people's visceral reaction to dissing Lucky would be pretty strong.
I don't think it is a stretch to say that it may be the most, possibly the best Chaos Bag mitigation single test card.
Because you get to peek forward in the RNG engine. And
Yeah.
that oh god, in single player, like, okay, so bearing back to what we were talking about before, I feel like what makes a deck a good deck is how efficient its actions end up being, right? Like that's kind of distilling deck building theory down in this game. That's where it's at. And Premonition as a fast action in single player, you can plan your whole turn around it. In multiplayer, one of my favorite things is to be like, okay, we got some things to do this turn. Premonition, see what the token is. Okay, and based on that token, who goes first? And what order do we do things? It gives you just this... It gives you a pivot point in the game, really, where you didn't have purchase before.
Yeah,
I mean, it's also... Go ahead, Ian.
Like, one of the biggest weapons that or things the encounter deck has on its side is the unpredictability of the Chaos Bag, because like the game basically tries to tax you as much as possible, get you to spend resources, spend cards in your hand, and the way that it does that is because you always have to overcommit to everything, and so being able to kind of take away that weapon, even if just for a single test, is pretty powerful.
Yup. Now, I don't know if Premonition is a sleeper hit or it's just one of those. It's just kind of on the new side, so it might be just one of those slow burns. But if you haven't played it yet, highly recommended. Proper use of it is insanely good.
So, speaking of proper use, insanely good, I'm going to throw out one of my cards. Teamwork. Because I can
that was
tell
on
you...
my list, too.
That is
prior to last week, I would have disagreed with you. But I'm a believer.
Prior to last week, I was like, that is a, like, bike spokes card. But once we realized you could put it on stick to the plan, and if you're playing with someone who wants a lot of money, like a Guardian, and someone who makes a lot of money, like someone with Milan Christopher, or, you know, is a rogue and has the, what's the thing, pay 3, get 10, make all the money.
Oh, hot streak, yeah.
Thank you.
Lots of painted hot streaks.
Or Renfield. Ian,
Renfield.
how much did you give away from your Renfield Smaug mountain of resources?
Well, when I was up to 25 in Phantom of Truth, I gave away 12, begrudgingly.
You saint. You absolute saint.
That was half my almost half my share. That's pretty generous, right?
So I'm gonna say too, like, it definitely is a niche card. Like, you have to have the right team set up for it and the right plan for it. And the fact that you can put it on stick to the plan is what I think makes it good. Like, I don't think it's good in a deck. I think it has to be on stick to the plan to be that sleeper hit. But yeah, teamwork.
But the fact that we're sitting here saying, hey, teamwork has a good use, like, I would not have predicted that a month ago.
Yeah.
I think the part that has still been untapped in the community at large is the giving assets away aspect. And I think part of the reason is because we all just build our decks to function as they need and have the assets they need. And so why would you give part of, like, your setup to someone else? But in the future, I think I could see some stuff done with it that I don't think it's barely been tapped yet, that potential.
Yeah.
Well,
Ian?
My card is a real blast. That is Dynamite Blast, which got talked about a lot during the core set days, I feel like, and I don't see it talked about or included in decks as much anymore, but oh boy, that was another Iron Man All-Star for sure.
Yes. I had almost entirely discounted that card, except in, like,
Same.
solo or, like, Carolyn, where it's just like she needs any option she has
Damage
to
output.
do damage. But oh my god, in 4-player Carcosa, that card did so much damn work.
Yeah.
I will be looking at it way more seriously in every Guardian build that I have from now on.
It's just such an action saver, and like the fact that it's Teslas too. Those two things combined.
I mean, it's expensive, so it doesn't go in everyone. But as long as
Sure.
you can reasonably be assured that you're going to be able to pay for it, like
if someone teamworks you resources.
like that.
I mean, I'm gonna say right now, like someone needs to run Dynamite Blast in our TFA Iron Man run because of all
agree.
those 3 health enemies and the fact that that cycle swarms enemies unlike any other. Like,
Well, if Diana ends up being Guardian, I volunteer as tribute. Because I'm running Diana for Forgotten Age, regardless of whether she's a really good choice or not, because she's the best choice always.
Right, so I guess we're getting a new Iron Man team, Ian.
So I think the next one that I'm going to lay down again might just be kind of like, hey, it's new, so people aren't talking about it a whole lot. But I think Winging It is a great card. So Winging It, as opposed to Improvised Weapon, so they're kind of like, flip sides of the same coin. With Improvised Weapon, it's interesting because you can't stack that fight action with other weapons or whatever, so just the ability to get consistent damage efficiency out of that card is really limited. You basically only ever want to play it out of your discard pile, so that card just doesn't go in many places. Like I've had a cheeky one of in Mark, and I think that's the best I've ever gotten out of that card. But Winging It does the same thing except for investigation. So I honestly think this is a really good card because it's basically like a little deduction for 2 resources. You play it the first time, and you've paid 1 resource to get -1 to a Shroud, which that's a decent trade just right there. Boom. If nothing else was on this card, that's okay. Like, people pay resources and other things to just reduce a Shroud by 1, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like pumping your investigate by 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then it hits your discard pile. You can immediately play it again on the same location. Like, you can get 3 clues out of 2 actions as long as you hit the tests. And for a non-seeker card, that's pretty solid. I've got it in my Kluver Finn right now, and it has done really good work.
Yeah, I like it, and especially all the survivors who can discard for an ability like Windy or Ashcan. It's you just pop it right in your discard pile right away, so you can get the extra clues. Just clue accelerators in general are worth their weight in gold, I found. So
clue accelerators and damage accelerators. Huh. It's almost like making an action more effective is a good thing.
It's funny how that works.
Scott.
All right, my next one. I'm gonna skip the next one. I'll bring it up later. I don't know if this one is actually underrated. I just think it is super important. Is logical reasoning. The ability to heal horror is one thing, but to get rid of a terror card from someone's threat area, like something like Frozen in Fear and Skids,
or Finn,
or Finn, sorry, and Finn can take logical reasoning. Like, I feel like logical reasoning is a 2 of in Finn or anyone who is running someone with low willpower, or you're going into a scenario that has a lot of terror cards. Like, I just think it's so powerful for what it does. Plus, the horror healing is amazing.
Yeah, I just like the cards that are just kind of a point-and-click heal, whether it's damage with emergency aid or with horror of logical reasoning. That, there's uses for the ones that you put out on the board, like first aid, or that you slowly heal. But part of me just likes, just play it, heal, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Letting my rogue come out.
I ran 2 of all the way through Iron Man Carcosa, and I would never regretted seeing it, because even if you don't have the opportunity to play it, it's guts now. Which no one's sad to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely love that card. Scott. Or Ian.
Ian. Yeah, that was me.
losing my Losing my steam already. Here we go.
My next one is also one that's I mentioned earlier in the cast, and I don't know if it's underrated or if it's just because it's new. But Hatchet Man. I don't think it goes in every build because rogues have a lot of good skills to choose from, but it's one of those you look at and you're like, one extra damage, whatever. But you'd be surprised how many instances you need to hit like those, especially for the 3 health enemies is where it really sings for me. Or if you get stuck without a weapon and need to hit a 2 health, like you just evade, which you're probably doing anyway as a rogue, and then hit them for extra damage, or combo it with something like sneak attack, where you're all of a sudden sneak attack becomes like a testless backstab because you're doing 3 damage without even having to test for it, other than the evade, of course. But yeah,
I really like that that's given new life to sneak attack.
Oh yeah, sneak attack, as someone who plays rogue a ton, is not a card that I include that often anymore. But yeah, with Hatchet Man, it's legit.
Excellent. So my next card, I don't know if you guys have heard about this one, but when it first came out, everyone kind of turned their noses up and we're kind of afraid, and that's Mr. David Renfield. Have you guys heard of this card? I don't know if you've played it.
I've heard it in my bike spokes, but do you have...
So, anyone who's actually played Renfield and kind of figured out the rhythm of Renfield, he's such an amazing resource engine. Like, I can't rave hard enough about him. Okay, so obviously this is like half satire. Because obviously we've raved about him on the cast before, so he's probably not actually that underrated, but I included him on my list because when he first came out, so many people turned their nose up at the fact that you had to play around with Doom, and oh my god, is it worth it. Like, as long as you build your deck or are otherwise reasonably assured that you're going to be able to get rid of him when you need to, or pop the Doom when you need to with like a Moonlight Ritual, he's such an insanely good resource engine. Let's see here. Exhibit A, Ian's 25 resources in Phantom of Truth. An outlier to be sure, but still something that happened.
Fair. Exhibit B? Nothing? Oh, okay. Just checking.
I thought Ian had something to say.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think if I've used them in anyone outside of Safina, but I'll say in Safina at least, because I also ran Renfield Safina solo through Carcosa, and she killed that campaign, and it was largely because of Renfield, like legit MVP all by himself. And same in Iron Man, he did so much work, so of course not the ally you're going to pick for every Mystic or Mystic Access person, because they have other options, but he's definitely one worth looking at if you need a ton of resources to fund stuff.
Or if you're Ashcan Pete. Because Ashcan Pete can turn a card into 3 more resources. Or more.
Yep.
So good. Okay. So on to more serious items that aren't actually rated as well as they should be. Because everyone loves Renfield, right? Like, people have come around to Renfield.
I think
if you don't play him,
he's generally accepted as pretty good. Yeah.
I wanted to note the community turnaround, because all I heard when he dropped was, "Ooh, that's icky."
So my next one is one that I'm surprised I have it on this list, because we were talking about the accessory slot and how sometimes it's competitive, sometimes it's not. Relic Hunter, I actually played for the first time. Now, I will put a caveat with this, that I think it is good because Key of Ys exists. And the ability to play Key of Ys and have another accessory.
Your normal accessory. Your reasonable accessory.
Yeah, your run-of-the-mill accessory. Yeah, Relic Hunter. I mean, to have Key of Ys out and a police badge in Yorick, that's what sold it on me. So,
Yeah, I've used Relic Hunter and Windy because I was using the amulet a lot, but I also wanted to have, I can't remember what my other main accessory was now. It was something.
For who?
For Windy. There was another.
Perhaps her amulet?
No, that's what I'm saying. I needed it because I was using her amulet heavily, but I also wanted
Dice,
another accessory. Right? I can't remember. Maybe was I running Key of Ease in that build? I can't even remember now. But anyway, I think like the first
you'd remember.
the first instinct is for when it came out was a lot of people to look at Mystic, which is fair because they do have a ton of accessories. But I've been most tempted in Survivors actually. One, because they have a lot of extra XP to spend compared to most other classes, and two, like the accessory slot in Survivor is actually pretty crowded, or it can be, depending on Investigator.
I think there's enough decent accessories now that we need to start considering Relic Hunter being a build that could happen. So,
yeah,
which is interesting. And this is a tangent, but I feel like it's a question still worth asking. How guys are you including charisma nowadays? Because remember back in like in Dunwich kind of as a whole, you're like, well, everyone takes charisma, right? Do you still feel that's the case?
It's pretty often for me.
Really? Yeah. See, I find it less and less for me, unless I don't know.
Don't take it as often as I once did. It depends. It depends on if I am playing NC that I can reliably get out to in the first place.
Well, and I suppose when you get one of the story-related allies, you kind of, if you actually like them and envision yourself playing them, it's nice to make room. But I don't know. Yeah. I upgrade to charisma far less than I do than I did in Dunwich, and I actually think that's a good thing. And I'm not actually complaining about that. I feel like the diversity of decks and cards available make it so that your ally is not such an integral part of everything else your investigator's doing. So anyway, it's cool that then Relic Hunter is kind of getting up to, well, it's at least reaching at the power level that charisma has. Reaching at from down below.
Okay, fair
enough. So my next card, I'm actually gonna. Oh, really?
Yep.
That's because yours aren't in the show notes, Ian. I'm sorry. Ian,
I know.
You go.
I'm keeping it all mysterious. My next one is a doozy. I'm going out on a limb here. I don't know if you guys will be able to go to follow where I am. This is one that I'm not actually convinced by my own argument, and I don't think it's underrated now, but I think it's underrated in terms of its potential of what it could be. And this is Joey the Rat Vigil.
Whoa.
But yeah.
Whoa.
I told you I was going out on a limb.
Ian, come off that branch. There's no way it's going to support your weight.
You can't talk me down. So, for those who don't remember, because no one ever plays Joey the Rat Vigil, he has a free trigger to spend a resource and choose an item asset from your hand and play it, paying its cost. So basically, what he's doing is giving you an additional action to play an item asset, but you have to spend one additional resource to get it out there. The reason it sucks and why it's rated so lowly is because there are a bunch of other rogue allies that are better. And so many to choose from now, Leo DeLuca and Lola, etc. But I don't know, I just envision like a future investigator that wants to put out a bunch of stuff, a bunch of items, maybe even a Finn build in the future that is putting a lot of the alcohol and illicit stuff out, and that this is a way that you're essentially getting an additional basically the draw here more than anything else is the additional action that it's giving you, and that you can play it whether you're engaged with an enemy or not.
Which I agree, additional actions, one of the best things you can give yourself. In the ally slot, though, Rogue has so many good allies.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, he costs. Well, the biggest issue is he costs 4. Like, you put him at 2, You put him at 2, and I think you have more room. Like, okay, you're paying less, but like you pay like 2 more, and you have Leo DeLuca, which is just a free action for anything. What Joey's giving you is that it's a free action, which matters in some cases, but does it matter enough to?
Yeah, I just think he's too expensive. Slot? He would have been fine as a 2-cost ally. Maybe bring his health down by 1. I don't know. I think he's.
I wonder if we'll get an upgraded Joey the Rat.
I would hope so, because then that will make people look at level 0 a little bit harder to maybe upgrade into it.
Joey the Mongoose.
Like I love this idea of this the character and the ability, like this, you know, skeezy, like untrustworthy guy who's getting you stuff on the black market. I really want it to work. I just don't see a build yet where it works, but maybe there's a future rogue investigator we get, or someone who can access rogue cards or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
He did Soka Beyond the Veil hit for me once.
There will probably be a day when we will regret panning Attorney Urkel and Joey the Rat. Agreed. I predict there will be a day. But I don't know.
But it is not this day.
But it is not this day. All right. Well, extra, let me tell you about my next card. So I think that Newspaper Level 2 is highly underrated for what it does. So I think Newspaper Level 0 competes generally poorly with Flashlight at Level 0, right?
Okay.
But I feel like Newspaper Level 2, in certain situations, in either solo or as a flex clue gatherer in multiplayer, is a great little card. It's 2 XP, of course, which you have to swallow. That's probably the biggest cost to it. But a little 1-cost, 1-hand card gives you a persistent intellect boost, and you get an extra clue the next time you discover clues when you don't have any. So at Arkham Knights, I ran this in a standalone Agnes deck that was kind of like Agnes and Toys, and this was just in there because she doesn't really have a whole lot of need for hand slots. She's got Axe and what else? Okay, so I'll throw in Newspaper. And it ended up doing a lot of work because you can combo this off of your first charge of Red of Seeking and get 3 clues.
Yeah.
You can just do, like it would suggest, a straight investigate test when you don't have any clues and get an extra 1. If you fail the investigate test and you play Look What I Found, you get 3 off of that. I think it's just a really good little card. Like, after you get it in your deck, the 2 experience is a little bit to swallow, but after that it asks so little of you as long as you can spare the hand slot. Really good card.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed this card, actually. Like, True Solo has been absolutely great for me. Because oftentimes you don't need that many clues, and you're often clearing off those clues so the newspaper can trigger. I can see this working well in 2-player as well. Yeah, I love it.
Well, even in higher player counts, at bare minimum, the clues clear from the board 2 to 3 times per scenario, right? Bare minimum, this is giving you a 2 boost to intellect 2 to 3 times per game and getting you extra clues the first time you get them. Like, even when you're not, maximizing its efficiency, it's really good, obviously, in scenarios where you're spending clues down more frequently than that, like, your Midnight Masks or any of the other ones. It's definitely better. But I feel like even in the ones where you don't and clues just go away when the act pops or something like that, it's still a good card.
Yeah.
This is one I need to play more, because it's one I feel like I just have a weird thing against, where I see the value and I just always end up cutting it, but I need to actually just stick to it and try it out.
See it through to level 2. Level 1, I'm back and forth on. That one's way scenario dependent, but level 2, man, at worst, like even if you never use the stat boost, like when you get clues 2 to 3 times per game, you're getting an extra one.
Mm-hmm. And we did talk earlier about clue acceleration being good.
Yes, we did. All right, Scott, what you got?
Okay, so should I be serious or cheeky as hell?
Yes.
I mean, I threw out Joey the Rat Vigil, so I think the floodgates have been open.
So I'm going to throw out a super niche scenario for you, but tell me how amazing it is.
Okay.
So handcuffs.
Yes, I love it.
They're pretty good.
Yes.
I think they're going to be amazing in TFA. I think they are amazing. And I think they're just a good utility weapon tool for Guardians. So throw it at Lola. And when Stubborn Detective is your weakness, you handcuff him, engage him. Now you have like superpowered Lola. Because you no longer have the text where she can only play her the role she's in. You just play like a normal investigator.
So she just has this stubborn detective in handcuffs following her around like a gimp or something.
Yeah, pretty much. He's just evaded.
She's like Shion in or Michonne in Walking Dead. She's walking with the trussed up stubborn detective on a chain behind her.
Or what's the guy in Game of Thrones who gets his lower stuff?
Oh, Reek.
Well, that's
Reek,
kind of a yeah. Let's go with Reek.
Yeah. What's your name? Reek. Yeah.
Damn it! Now we need an alternate art stubborn detective that's Reek.
So, anyways, I think handcuffs are a good card in general. I don't think the community has really slept on it per se. Like it's just, I think people think it's average. I think it's a little slightly above average. But I mean that scenario itself, I can't wait. It has to happen.
I feel like every campaign thus far has had at least cultists that sit there and try to do shitty Doom things. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I really like handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty. Ian.
My next one is also inspired by my recent Finn plays, which is, again, a newer card, so maybe not underrated. But maybe I just haven't seen it talked about a ton. It just came out in the latest pack. This is Coup de Grace, new rogue event that
you mean rogue mono a mono?
Yep. So you deal 1 damage to an enemy on your location, but unlike mono mono, which is at the beginning of your turn, this ends your turn whenever you play it. Doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity, and if it defeats an enemy, you draw a card. So, again, not for every build, but when you're playing the kind of Finn build I am now, which is, like, dealing with all these, like, it's almost this puzzle where you're, like, piecing bits of damage together to get the right amount with, like, sneak attack and backstab with the bow. So, for example, you can hit an enemy with a bow, and if it has 4 health, finish it off with Coup de Grace. If you hit like something for 2 damage, this is yet another way to kill those pesky 3 health enemies without having to take a test, which is again the best. So like I included it and I was just like, I'll see how it goes. I kind of have a sneaking suspicion I'm not going to use it that much, and I've actually used it quite a few times, including some key situations like there was in Threads of Fate, I don't want to spoil too much, but we talked about it. There's like certain people, like characters you can fight who have a lot of health. This guy had a bunch. So basically, like Finn was the mad batter, just bashing him until he got into 1 health away, and then I just coup de grace him to finish him off. So
a very merry on birthday.
So Coup de Grace, I highly recommend it. It's worth it.
Sorry, I'm still laughing at Mad Batter.
He's the Mad Batter. Yeah, I should say before I had the bow, he was running baseball bat because fire axe. He just needs his resources. I'm not going to spend down. So bat was kind of the holdover until I could upgrade to bow. But yeah, so he was the Mad Batter. But the funny part is, like, I failed like 3 or 4 baseball tests without it breaking, but finally I just started. So I think I wailed on him like 8 tests worth with a freaking baseball bat before the coup de grace.
It's funny how baseball bat is kind of a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, no, you go ahead. You're talking about baseball bat. That's a very interesting topic.
Well, baseball bat's kind of a filler in my. Well, it wasn't a filler. It was a starter in my Silas build too. Like I'm doing like the going native Silas in Forgotten Age. So he's the one who took Ichitaka. He upgraded to Yaudle, even though I think at this point that's not his best build. He took the ornate bow, and I also have a copy of the brand in there. Like everything Aztec or Etzli, I suppose it would be anything Etzli that he could take, he does. I still have one damn copy of the bat in there because I haven't upgraded it out yet. And I don't know what it is about that card, but there's just something weirdly emotional about it. Because I'll go whole games where I'm expecting something to just, okay, all right, so bat's going to be going away, so let's make sure we draw, find a new weapon, like I'm preparing for it. Bat never goes away. I played it this last game, first test, draw skulls. Like, God damn it.
Yeah, it's so. This is the definition of swingy. It's why I don't use it as much.
Hashtag literally swingy.
Just got my own joke. The definition of swingy. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I don't run it as much anymore. But in certain cases, like it can do some work if you have a backup plan.
Coup de grace, you don't have to be engaged, right?
Let me double check the wording. I don't believe so. No, enemy at your location.
So whippoorwills?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Kill a whippoorwill, draw a card. Yeah, it seems good.
Yep.
Well, and so often in Carcosa, there's those Seekers of Carcosa that have aloof. So it's like, all right, I move, I engage, I fight. Most of the time, the best I can do is 2 damage off that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, coup de grace takes an action. Never mind, that's a non-bow.
Or even just those acolytes who... Just the general acolytes who have the 1 health, right?
Sure.
I do something, I move, I coup de grace, so I don't have to test, and then I also draw a card.
Yeah.
Like it's just a simple solution, gets stuff done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's a cantrip.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Super flexible.
Which is a good thing.
And the other thing I like about it, similar to we talked about logical reasoning as 2 will, this has 2 combat icons. So it just replaces overpower straight up in a deck that I might have taken overpower as well.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Jonathan?
All right, my last card is one that I think the community has been kind of underrating for a good long time. But I don't blame the community for it because I think the community is... It's got a solo bias, I think it's fair to say. Do you guys kind of find that too? That the community kind of just generally slants toward true solo as far as who's being active and participatory?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
There are multiplayer players out there and people like me who generally play solo but still do it two-handed. Like, we exist, but I feel like the majority of the community are true solo players.
I think so too.
Yeah, and I think cards are generally judged from that lens, usually.
Yeah. Well, and that's where you kind of go in a vacuum, right? Like, that's the easiest point from which to judge a card. So I bear the community no ill will that we have thus far underrated Taunt. So Taunt is, if you remember, it's a fast event, 1 cost, engage any number of enemies at your location, and then the level 2/1 is the same thing, except then you also draw 1 card for each enemy you engaged. And I would say both are underrated. Obviously, level 2 is great if you can justify the experience to spend on it, and I think a lot of investigators can but don't. But even level 0 is good, because what that is at the end of the day is an extra action. And say it with me, guys, an extra action is the best thing you can do for yourself.
Click economy. Sorry.
Can we just start saying action economy and like make it a new thing that is actually intelligent and not reductive?
Well, I remember we had a conversation way back, and we were saying we were going to call it a tick economy because it was all about time.
Right.
that one sure caught on.
Yeah. but emergency quiche. What the hell?
So obviously you look at something like taunt, especially taunt level 2, and you're like, all right, dream situation is like Zoe bombs into a room, pulls 3 or 4 enemies off everyone, and is like, all right, you guys are my bitches now. I think at the end of the day that's really cool, and I have done that once, and it was amazing. But I think the most common use of taunt is just to pull an enemy off of someone, and then you have one more action to fight it. End of story. A card and a resource for that, if you are a dedicated killer, is worth it most of the time in multiplayer.
Agree.
It's one of those bubble
or
cards.
for whippoorwills.
Yeah. It's one of those bubble cards for me that I often end up cutting, but you'll be like, I feel like if you took out a pen and paper and took notes throughout an Iron Man run or something of how many times the killer or someone is saying like, if I,
I'll spend
I only
an
have an
action
action
to engage.
left to engage it, or should I just attack it because it's with you? Like,
Yeah,
oh no, I'll just
totally.
engage it and take the hit and fight it next turn. Like that comes up so often in 3 and 4 player games that,
Yes,
I gotta agree with you.
Yes, sir. So, if you play multiplayer and have not looked at taunt in a killer deck, you need to look again, because that card will do work for you over the course of a campaign. And upgrade it, because drawing cards is awesome. Scott,
Okay, I need a little help with this one because I'm not 100% sure.
we already did teamwork. This isn't AV Club. Are we doing segues
Okay.
here?
Is this? I guess my question is this a card that is somewhat panned by the community? Because I'm not actually sure. But I know that it is amazing. Stunning Blow.
I feel like no one loves it as much as I do, but I don't know if that means it's underrated.
Yeah, I don't know if it's pan, but it's also in that category of not a ton
Because
of
to
like
me,
fanfare.
it is like, after playing it in Iron Man, like I was like, oh yeah, it seems good, right? It is like tier S. Like there's, tier 1, tier 2, whatever. This is like above that. This is Rex level, Key of Yeast level. Like I think Stunning Blow is ridiculously good.
Agree. It solves so many problems.
Oh my god. And it the fact that it doesn't say like non-elite. It's just
Yeah.
like hit something, it's evaded.
So
Done.
reminding everyone, this is a skill test that if the fight is successful, it automatically evades the attacked enemy.
with thud as the flavor text.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Casey at Arkham Knights has me now calling it just Thud, because
Yeah.
it has the best flavor text ever.
And the best art. I mean,
It has
I want to
really
play
good
out of
art.
this. Yeah, I mean, like, you can evade bosses, right? Like Silas in the basement. You can evade, now I can say it, Haster. Like, it is
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. It's again just it's funny because it's kind of like in a way a flip side of Hatchet Man, which is evading to help with combat. This is like combat to help with evade. And I just like these effects that are kind of 2 for 1. Again, going back to like making your actions more efficient, and it's a way that the killers or the combat heavy groups who maybe don't have great agility can help like evade the enemy. Like you think about some of the enemies who also like have been given like huge evade values.
Yeah.
Like this
Silas.
is perfect for them. Yeah, but their combat values aren't as high. Like this is perfect for that.
Yeah, because isn't Silas like a 2 combat, 7 evade or something?
Yeah, it's super crazy.
Right? And Stunning Blow.
yeah.
It's just, yeah.
The Beast of Aldebaran is up there, isn't it? Its evade value? I think it's like a 5, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Ian, what is your card?
No,
Okay.
are we done talking about Stunning Blow? Damn it, I missed it. It's great in Silas, if it hasn't been mentioned.
It's great in everyone.
Yes.
You'll have to give me a hand with this last card, which is Bandolier is my final pick. Again, I've said this for probably every single card, not for every deck, but I just find, and again, more of a multiplayer card in my opinion. I just find in multiplayer, if I'm the Guardian and I'm trying to kill everything in sight, like I like having the option of have one big weapon, the upgraded weapon that's probably taking my 2 hand slots, and then I like having the extra hand slot to hold just your basic like machete or 45 or Colt or whatever, so that I don't have to use the big weapon shots on some measly little enemies. I just like that flexibility when you're like the main killer in multiplayer.
Bandolier, I find, it's one of those cards that if I start out, I'm like, okay, I gotta build a 4-player Guardian deck. It's one of the cards I put in 2 of at the beginning, and then I always cut it. But I always am sad when I do, because I think, for the exact reasons you gave, like, if you're that super dedicated killer, 3 hands for weapons is pretty good.
Yeah.
I
Sean's
can
like,
honestly
what?
say
Hands with
no.
weapons?
I play a fair amount of Guardian. Thank you
That's
very
true.
much. But I can honestly say I have never included Bandolier in a deck. Now, so, I mean, is that literally what it is? Like, if you've got a 2-handed weapon, that's the only time you ever consider it?
I mean, that's how I've used it. Maybe there's other uses for it, but
Roland is the one investigator. If I'm playing solo Roland, I will include one of, at least, of Bandolier, because having like a gun, a machete, and a magnifying glass, or a gun and 2 magnifying glasses, like when he has to pull double duty, having 3 hand slots I find is actually super useful.
yeah.
I'll buy it.
And I haven't... Actually, I think maybe I did include it in the early Yorick build. I could see it potentially in Yorick, where he's like asset heavy and holding so much stuff in hand.
I mean, I almost ran it in Yorick, because the fact you can pull it back too. But he's discarding his assets so quickly as well. I mean, I just found it's a juggling act, and as long as you can play that juggling act, I don't think Bandelier's a necessity.
Yeah, it kind of depends. Oh, I remember why I was using it. Is because it was solo Yorick build, and I was running baseball bat, so I also wanted to offhand for like investigation tools that I could cycle through.
Yeah, fair.
I dig. Well, I'm out. So if you guys had any other ones to mention.
I think I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So if you haven't tried those cards out, guys, there's a couple now that I must try out. Like, I don't know where I'm going to fit Relic Hunter, but I am going to start looking at it now. So let's move on from then, or from there. And James Huff gave us another question to discuss, and I feel like this one's going to be a little bit quicker, because we're probably going to have a lot of agreeing to do in addition to our disagreeing.
Or will we?
Or will we? But James asked us what we feel are the 4 worst investigators. And before we embark on this journey, I feel it important to say that when we say worst investigators, that does not come packaged with anything along the lines of we think these are unplayable or poorly designed or what have you. Just literally, I think we're looking at investigators that we think have, the fewest options, the least efficacy, and things along those lines.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I like the question because it makes you think. So I'm not against the question, but just in general, whenever people bring up the worst investigators, I'm just like, for me, it's not something that I even believe exists fundamentally in this game. Like, I think all the investigators have been designed well enough that like, first you have to clarify and say, well, are you talking about solo or multiplayer? Because both of those make a huge difference. There's just so many factors that, personally, I don't think there truly is, like, a bottom tier of worst investigators. That's my position. I don't think it exists. I think it's easier to say who are the best investigators, probably, and pick a handful, but I'm going to go and give my picks here, but just to have an interesting discussion, but all of that's anyone I pick is not someone I truly believe is a quote unquote worst investigator.
I think
we've caveated far enough at this point.
I'm just gonna say I said a similar caveat way back when, and it's someone has to come in last at the Olympics, right? Like, just because you come in last at the Olympics doesn't mean you're bad.
Scott, Lola's right here. You shouldn't talk about her.
You're just the worst of the best, right? Like, it just
right.
Yeah, like any last place Olympian can kick any of our asses in their chosen thing, right?
Any investigator's better than an ally, right, guys?
Depends on the ally.
Depends on the investigator. But okay, there we go. There's our caveats.
Caveated complete.
Sean, you gonna start?
Oh, I thought Ian was gonna start.
Oh,
Ian?
Me? Oh, God. Okay, well, I'm going to start with probably the lowest hanging fruit. And that would be... And I hate to do this because she's one that I've actually had fun with recently, and that's Lola.
Yep.
Fun investigator.
I'll throw in. Me too.
Yep.
Flexible, lots of things. And she's gotten a lot better. Like, she was a pretty mean clover in my Lola Calvin campaign. But
Would we call her flexible, though? She's bendy. I don't know if that means she's flexible.
She has the flexibility but not the reach. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
Well, once you get stubborn detective with handcuffs, I mean,
and the real party starts.
She is just the most handcuffed, and not in the good way, or straitjacketed of all the investigators. You just have to do a lot to make her work.
I do think the dual class cards will help in their own small way, but yeah, her class restriction in play and committing and whatnot, and that coupled with Crisis of Identity, like I've played Lola since we've discussed, and I tried Nick's whole thing of you just put all your static boosts on one class and you never switch to it again. Like, I am not swayed in my opinion of Crisis of Identity. I think it is the most backbreaking personal weakness for its investigator.
I concur.
I just go back to something I said in our Lola episode, which is like her superpower. Like every gator has a superpower. Hers is basically to access every class, and in this game, that actually doesn't count as much of a superpower is the problem.
But she has access to each class, but not
at the same time.
Maybe at the time you need it, right? Like, it's
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the same way I have access to buying $1 million house, right? Like, I could do it, but
yeah. The problem with Lola is that you look at her deck building rules and you go like, oh, she is the combo investigator. And then you look at her ability and you go like, oh, I can't play any combos ever.
Which was like, it kind of has to that she needed to be restricted to prevent like craziness in the long run, but it's like almost like she needed a little kicker on top of her ability to. It's like something else that she could do on top of just accessing different roles.
I wonder, and if there's any enterprising member of our listening audience that has an idea, I'd love to hear about it. But if Lola did not have that play restriction, what are the degenerate combos that would exist? Like, is there something that we are being guarded from that would be breaking the game otherwise?
Fair.
I think it's got to be something with skills. Like, my mind immediately jumps to double or nothing with, I don't know, a vicious blow. And, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be in a skill test. I'll get back to you on that, because I'm sure I could devise something.
Or maybe some recursion stuff. Although I feel like a lot of the recursion stuff is careful to specify what kind of cards you can recur, but
Yeah.
I would
feel
have
like
to
the
look through
worst
everything.
recursion stuff is on investigators, so it's not that tough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know though. I could be wrong, and I'm not much of a min maxer, so someone else surely has figured this out, right?
So I'm going to throw another Gator out there who I know Sean and I agree with, and I don't know about even Ian, but because he is the rogue guy, but I think it will come as no surprise that I think Skids is the Skid Row of investigators.
Now again, I think Skids has become far more playable than he's been.
Absolutely.
Because Rogue has had a good go. Guardian's gotten a fair row of good cards. Mm-hmm. But again, lining him up against his Rogue brethren and against his Guardian brethren, I think Skids ends up at the bottom of both heaps.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, I think there's great rogues. I think Safina is amazing, and her skill cap is huge. And Jenny is a great all-rounder. I think Skids is just meh. Like
he's in a weird place, right? Mm-hmm. Because his off class would lead you to build Guardian, but his main class kind of wants to take up all those slots for your kind of roguey damage. So I almost feel like you're better off going with, I don't know, your Jennies or whatever most of the time. That's not to say there's not a good Skids build out there. Mm-hmm. Again, I just think stacked up against the other options, Skids is in just kind of a weaker place.
And here's how far I'll go too. I think
He's doubling down.
I think Finn is better than Roland because he has 1 willpower. And the reason I'm saying that is if you're going to have low willpower, you might as well double down and just be like 0-4-4-4. You know what I mean? Like, if you're just going to tank every willpower test you get, or be close to tanking each one, you might as well have that stat somewhere else.
If the plane's crashing, you might as well just drop the nose straight into the ground, right?
Right, exactly. And so the fact that, oh my goodness, Finn is a 1-4-3-4, I think, and Skids is the 2.
Yeah, Skids has the 2. Yeah,
2-3-3-4.
Yeah, it just, I would rather that 2 go to a 1. I would actually consider Skids a bit better if he did that.
So, Skids is actually on my list, as much as it pained me. Kind of how I did this is I looked through each class and picked the investigator that I thought was the bottom of each class. And again, with the caveat that I truly don't believe like Skids is a bad investigator, because I think he's actually one of the strongest solo investigators in my opinion.
Well, that's what's weird about this, right? And like in the different contexts and like solo versus multiplayer, like it's just kind of tough to tell, right?
Yeah, ultimately the decider was exactly what Scott is saying, because Safina is like, she's good. There's no way she was going to be bottom for me. Jenny, same. And I have attachment to Jenny. So it's really between Finn and Skids, and to me, the thing is I just prefer Finn over Skids, like exactly for why Scott said, like take him down to 1 willpower since I'm failing willpower anyway, give me 4 intellect instead of 3, which makes a huge difference. Like essentially Finn is trading the 1 will for 1 extra intellect, and I just like that that stat line better. So that's what it came
intellect
down
is
to.
good? Who knew?
Yep. and it's also like, and again, it's gonna sound like I'm bagging on Skids. Like he can be super effective, but I think the thing is he's just way higher like skill cap. To run Skids well is super difficult. You have to learn him, and how to use his ability. Whereas Finn is just like extra evade each turn, like just set it and forget it. Like you don't have to worry about managing resources like you have to pay for Skid's ability, that kind of thing.
And again, playable. I think the last time I played Skids was I played the old Daisy Skids combo through Carcosa. And he had markedly improved since the core set, which was the last time I played him. But like, what do you guys think his Guardian access gets him is ultimately what I get down to. Like, you know, Jenny's got her Dunwich Splash, which you can do many cool things with. Like, Finn's got better stats and he can still kind of splash from other good factions. Like, what does Skid's Guardian access really give him as far as like competitive advantage?
Well, and I think this is where he falters, because Rogue has gotten so many combat options now in weapons that he used to need Guardian to get weapons and some damage output.
He was the fighty Rogue.
Right. But
now Rogues can fight.
Yeah, like, Jenny's a good fighter just as much as Skids is, and she doesn't, like, suck.
Whoa.
Like, it's for these reasons that I think Skids is one of the trickiest deck builds in the game, even though he seems so straightforward, because he's just the standard, like, main class and off class, but, like, there's a huge difference between, like, a good effective Skids build and an ineffective one, and it just depends. Like, in solo, I tend to go a lot more Rogue, I use a lot more Guardian in multiplayer if he's being the main killer, but yeah. I think because the main thing is, like, the biggest like pitfall with Skids, and I've said it before, is just making him a knockoff Guardian, because otherwise just play a Guardian. Like, you have to lean into his skills, which is being able to evade, which Guardians usually can't do, and
nor is there anything in Guardian that benefits from it.
Sure. But, like, I these days my Skids builds are just way more green than they are blue. In the early days of the game, I was using a lot more Guardian.
Yeah.
So we've agreed on 3, and I must say 4 is an odd number to choose. I would have thought he would say 5.
Well, we've agreed on 2 so far, right? Lola and Skids.
No, Lola.
Skids, Lola. Oh, no. Okay, I imagine our third, though, that we will agree on, because we haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
It's a foregone conclusion. Maybe Ian's not on board. Though I will say, despite the fact that I have found this investigator to be pretty fun, very interesting to build for, as far as power level, flexibility, and consistency, I would put Calvin in the bottom 4.
Okay, so he's wrong. Ian, let's move on to a mature conversation.
I hate to say it, but I actually have Calvin on my list as well.
Well, you guys are wrong.
Okay, tell us why.
The fact that you... Okay, so I will caveat this with, I don't think he's one of the strongest either. I think he's pretty middle of the road. I think he's a great flexible investigator. I also think his skill cap is super high, and I'm not throwing shade at all. If you build him slightly wrong or pilot him slightly wrong, it can go bad really fast. And I will say too, Sean, that you also took him through possibly the worst campaign for him. Like, which I will acknowledge, but at the same time, I've had way more. I've run Forgotten Age probably 8 times now. Mm-hmm. He's the first investigator I've had who's legit died. Yeah, fair enough. So I find him pretty good. I think his ability to get his stats to obscene levels is remarkable. I do think that his deck building restrictions as far as damage output kind of sucks, because you're looking at 2 damage per attack, and that's pretty much it. Although you do now have, what is it, Blood Eclipse that you can take. But
can he take it though? Like, by the time you can afford that in your campaign, he's got too much trauma for you to actually play it.
No, if you're good at piloting him, it's fine. But, you know.
The reason Calvin
I'll have to take that on faith.
The reason Calvin is on my list is not because I'm one of these Calvin haters who's like, oh, he's trash, and like, I firmly don't believe that. I believe he can be really good. It's just, one, I in my list was tending more towards just like the higher skill cap investigators I'm putting on the worst list because, like, they are not as point and click. To me, that means they're potentially you can play them very badly. And also, I think Calvin, the main thing with Calvin is just consistency, like that to play Calvin well, you have to ride the line a lot, and that means at times you're going to get screwed by the encounter deck, and that's true for most investigators, but it's especially true for Calvin. So that's the main reason he made it on my list.
Well, and my biggest argument against the assertion that he's, quote unquote flexible is that, well, yeah, he can do, anything, but it's also very much governed about what the encounter deck chucks at you and in what order. So I guess, I don't know, when I hear flexible, I think like, oh, you can go wherever you need to go. Like you're able to do things as you need to do them. Whereas he's effective by the whims of the encounter deck, right? I don't know. But I do agree though that the biggest problem I have run into with him is that there's just so little damage output. Mm-hmm. And if you need him to be able to handle big enemies, he's just not got very many tools to do it at this point.
That's a Survivor issue in general.
Yes. Yeah. Which is fine because Survivor has access to a couple. I mean, we've gotten 2 really good neutral options for damage output in this cycle.
Yeah, Kukri and no, just kidding.
Yes. Definitely Kukri and Knife.
Yeah, I will say story-wise, he's in my top 3 of like favorite characters in the story. It's very intriguing, but yeah.
I need to get around to actually cracking open my deluxe rulebook for Arkham 30.
Read it; it's a good Calvin story.
Now again, I want to assert Calvin's fun. I like his design.
It was a great design.
I don't hate him in any way. But I think as far as like flexibility and power, and I do agree that this is my first time through. He's got a high skill cap. I still think at the peak of that skill cap, he's not as powerful as the top half of investigators.
It's because you haven't hit the peak yet, Sean.
I
haven't been there.
I just want to interrupt our storm of caveats for a second to say, like, it's a testament to how well the investigators have been designed that it's impossible to have this conversation without it turning into, like, everyone shouting at each other about, no, you're wrong, this one's the worst, because, like, the fact that there's no clearly worse Gator, except for the fact I think most people would probably pick Lola, but other than that, it's up in the air. I think that just shows how well designed all the Gators are.
Yeah.
So one of the other ones, Sean, you and I both picked Mateo.
Sadly, I had to throw, just to show that I can have a balanced perspective. I had to throw a little bit of purple in the list.
He's on my list too. Again, I went through the classes, and not that he's bad, but looking at all of the purple, he to me is the lowest purple.
And lowest purple again, last place at the Olympics. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Like
now, don't get me wrong. I love Mateo, and when you pop his turn a tentacle into an Elder Sign ability in multiplayer, you feel boss as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got access to your basic mystic tools, which are not things to sneeze at.
Mm-hmm. And starting with 5 XP is a leg up.
That is a thing. But there's not much else you can say for him at this point. Now, the more blessed cards we get, the better he gets, obviously. But right now, he is the most vanilla mystic we have.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just there's not enough to distinguish him right now. Like, in his deck building, there needs to be more blessed, #blessed cards. Because when I was looking through the list, I was like, okay, it's not going to be Agnes, like she's super powerful. It's not going to be Marie because she's super amazing Clover. It's not going to be Akachi because she's like the best straight spell slinger. And it's not going to be Jim because he's super distinctive, like bad control. He can do things that no one else does. So by default, it's Mateo for me.
Yeah, I was actually kind of torn between Jim and Mateo.
Really,
But-
after how much you expounded on the Jim control build?
Well, and see, that's what pulled it up for me. Is that Jim, like as a numbers guy, I like what Jim does as far as just the skulls, and he has 5 flex cards because he's Dunwich, and Mateo has 0. Or sorry, he can take custom ammunition. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think Jim is pretty decent now. If you had asked me like 4 months ago, I think I would have put Jim near the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny how a couple packs with the right tools can just turn an investigator around, huh?
Yeah. Jim is my underrated card.
Yeah. I considered Jim, and I also considered Carolyn.
Yep. Carolyn
But,
Carolyn was
on my
close
list.
for me too. Yeah.
But I also recently listened to one of the more recent episodes of that podcast that shall not be named,
Sure.
and they on there presented a pretty good case for the breadth of options that Carolyn actually has for deck building when you really look at the different permutations of cards she can take. Like,
Yeah.
aside from Lola, she is one of the most flexible investigators to build for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a thing.
Well, here's the thing with Carolyn, too, is that we don't know her in her final form because we have her signature cards, which the signature asset is, it's hard to make use of, and her signature weakness is terrible.
Oh, it's so bad.
When we see her actual signatures, then I think we'll get a better idea of what she can do.
I feel like you can say that about all the novella investigators.
Sure.
Except Silas's replacements are, I think, worth keeping. I'd still play Silas with those.
But I do want to see what his net and harpoon does.
Yes. I'll go both. Porque no los dos. So yeah, anyway. Okay, so is that all 4 off of all 4 of our lists? Did we actually agree that far?
Surprisingly, I think so.
My only other one I think would just be Diana.
Oh, I didn't think you'd do it, you bastard.
Because we don't know her deck building, so she must be bad. She has
Now, what about like any of those 4 neutral investigators for the prologue? They have to be worst, right?
Well, I mean, some of them have more than 1 willpower, so I'm sure.
Diana has 6, you bastard.
I'm just glad no one picked Finn because I was ready to go to battle.
No, and
boy
you know,
Finn.
like the thing that keeps me away from Finn is exactly why we discuss kids. Like if you're gonna dive bomb on 1 skill, it's like Wendy with 1 fight, right? You just
Yeah.
don't fight.
Yeah, like there's no point in having a mediocre. Just like specialize if you're gonna specialize.
Like
So
a 2 in a stat is my most infuriated stat. I'm just like,
Yes,
why is
agreed.
that a 2? Make it a 1 or 0.
Pick a lane.
Exactly,
we need to do
right.
this.
Pick
So
a
here's a final question. We didn't touch any yellow investigators. So if you had to pick your worst seeker,
Surprise, surprise.
who would it be?
Hang on. First, before we make this determination, are we counting Norman as a yellow or purple?
Yes, we're
investigator?
counting.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Oh man,
I think. Go ahead, Scott.
I think it has to be Norman. Only
think so?
Only because he takes more time than any of the other ones to get up to snuff, I think.
Okay,
Because-
so here I'm going to caveat mine.
Mm-hmm.
In campaign mode, I agree with you because Norman's way
Okay.
trickier to back into the eventual deck you want when you have to start at level 0.
Yes, I would say campaign mode, I'm saying Norman.
Standalone mode, I want to go Min.
Yeah. Min was my second from the bottom, even for campaign.
Like even as much as I like Min, and she's got
Yeah.
access to 2 phenomenal classes.
Really?
Fuck Seekers, man. They're so good.
Min
They're
is
so good.
Min is
Because
actually
they are.
up top on my list for me because I think she's actually probably the best solo seeker. The solo seeker can tend to
Min?
have trouble. Yeah. She was like blazing through Carcosa solo when all the other ones would have trouble, I think.
Oh man, all right.
And
Well, yeah, I mean, as Banjo Thulu points out in the chat here, she's yellow.
Yeah.
So she's still better than half the investigators in the game.
My pick for Seeker was actually Normand, and again, not because he's not good, but I think the main thing more than anything else is just not being able to access those higher level Seeker, like higher ed, is a bit of a bummer. Because it would be nice if you could pump him for his Mystic stuff.
But you've got access to really good Mystic stuff.
Yeah, I will say, like, the deck you lent me at Arkham Knights, Sean, sold me on Norman Withers. But again, that was, what, a 29 XP?
No, it was a 19.
19? Okay. I mean,
but again, standalone, so you can kind of custom build. I feel like that 5 level 0 Mystic thing is the hardest part to negotiate when you're building Norman.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
It's tough, though, because I really do love his Gandalf ability.
Yes, Gandalf the Elf.
Like, it makes me use some of the Seeker cards that usually I'm more like, am I going to have time or resources to play this? But I'll throw them in Norman, because...
Now I do.
Yep, exactly.
All right, excellent. Well, thanks to Josh and to... oh, God, I've already forgotten where both of these came from.
James.
Thanks, James. To Josh and to James for submitting those questions. And if you're a patron or if you're going to shortly become a patron, don't forget that we're entertaining these discussion questions for actual episodes. And I thought those were both really good questions to kind of hash out on the current card pool.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, let's move on into... we've got one last little bit of user-submitted content to catch up on. We've got a hotline call that has a little bit to do with the old explore mechanic that we've been doing so much with nowadays. So we'll go ahead and listen to that here.
All right, we'll do another take of this because I was finally able to find the cards. So, obviously discussed at length by several outlets has been the difficulty of Forgotten Age and how the explore action is kind of a bottleneck as far as action efficiency and turn economy and everything goes. Very little bang for your buck aside from giving you more tasks to have to handle. One thing that has stuck with me for a really long time are the title cards you get in the very beginning of the Lord of the Rings campaign scenarios, like Tireless Ranger, Noble Hero, I believe it was Skilled Healer. These cards are ones that you stick on a hero, and they give you a small stat boon for whatever hero that is and an additional trait. One thing I was looking at trying to implement as a way to kind of make Explore a bit more of an investigator action and make it a bit more like interesting for each person is a title like that where like once per phase if you explore successfully, whether that's like you successfully find a new location, if you have like this cartographer trait, if you explore successfully, get like heal a point of damage off of an investigator at your location, or if you're unsuccessful, recover either, a bullet on a gun or a charge on a spell or something. Something to kind of just give a little more interaction and a little more benefit when you're taking these actions that are bogging down scenarios and taking away from actions that you need to be able to do something on your own as well as progress the board state. I guess if you're looking at like a once per round effect that each investigator could take, what kind of abilities would you be looking for to kind of make Explore less of a burden to have to deal with when it comes to those scenarios?
Thoughts?
It's funny because I was having a discussion about the Explore action a day or two ago in our Discord, and how it is, as far as solo play goes, it is the most punishing in solo, because you have to spend so many actions trying to get where you're going, and you're just... I mean, you could take the items to try and mitigate the treacheries, but that's just taking more actions away. And sometimes you just have to face check the treacheries, And that's really hard to do over and over and over again. Yeah. That explore action, it's rough.
It's like introducing several Mythos phases into your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something could have been used, like the idea here of giving you some kind of benefit to doing it would be nice if there was like good stuff you could explore. I also think maybe if it just had been something we could have more control of, like if explore was a test you take and then maybe your test results you can like look through the explore deck and get to where you need to go, like just some way to give players more control over it than just like slamming your face into a treachery over and over again. Because like I mean there should be people who are better and worse at exploring, you would think, right? So there should be some way of showing that through the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean I don't want to get too into the business of redesigning cards on this podcast, because that's a futile effort if it's a fun, mental exercise. But it's I don't know. I have found the explorer mechanic to kind of double down on swinginess, right? Mm-hmm. Because there are those scenarios where you will plow through all friggin' 5 of the treacheries in the deck before you find one damn location to get on the table, because the thing is, in most of those explore decks, there's 1 or 2 cards that you're looking for, but any one of those treacheries will stop you up, and you don't like keep going until you hit cards. Like you reshuffle every time, so you're gonna see those treacheries. Honestly, I haven't done like the hypergeometrics on this, but I'm assuming that the chances to see the treacheries are way higher than any given location.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I think it hurts tempo so badly, and definitely in solo. As far as what kind of like effects we could work in to make it more palatable, I think some of the ones he mentioned would be okay. Like, if you fulfill certain requirements or hit a test after you explore, like, hey, you found a wellspring and you get a drink, heal the damage, something like that. Like, a little bit of give to go with all the take would have been nice. Yeah,
I guess going with that idea, maybe they could have been like they could have been these cards that represent like roles in an expedition, like expedition leader or like lookout, all these different, or like supply master, and then those could give you some kind of effect that could mitigate the explore.
Scott, where do you sit on explore?
Well, I mean, being mostly a solo player, I think I kind of made my point there. I like the idea behind the mechanic. I think it's a very interesting mechanic. I think that it was just a bit too punishing, even on 4-player. There is the maps and the torches and stuff to kind of help filter out those locations.
But only if you took them. And let's say we're even gaming it and you do take it, you're still spending actions just attempting to make a future action a bit better. Like, it almost seems like the best way to play it is just to face check the explorers every time and just deal with the consequences, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of a failed explorer for someone who is an explorer still gets you something, right? Like, you didn't find the location, but like you said, oh, hey, look, I found some ammo. Hey, look, I found, I don't know, some medicine or something. But honestly, so we're close enough to it. Let's just have a quick moment where we redesign exploration. I think either taking the treacheries out of it entirely would have been fine.
I think so, yeah.
Or have the treacheries specifically go into the exploration deck and account for that. Like, be kind of either weaker global effects or affect something that interacts specifically with you're trying to explore. The fact that the treacheries that are in the exploration deck are just the ones that are like, hey, this is scaled for the Mythos phase. Fuck you.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree. It could have been like a set that's like exploration treacheries, and then have them be more choice based. Like, oh, you're running out of water, so you can choose to either delay, which means the exploration is not successful, or you can push forward and like take a damage or whatever. So basically, it's still giving control through choices and getting across that exploration theme, but it's not just like smashing you in the face. It's giving you a choice of like what you're gonna push and what you're willing to take.
I think one way too would be to have the locations kind of combined with the treacheries, so that I know obviously we already have some like locations, like when you reveal or when you enter this location for the first time, this or that happens. What if we had no treacheries in the explore deck, and the locations were like you're going to explore and you get something like a minor treachery every time you explore. So exploring is both positive and negative. I think that kind of changes how explore works, because it ends up being just an action move at that point.
Well, that's the funny thing, is that a lot of the locations do that already. And so it's like, because there's a lot of them where like, oh, if you don't have a rope or whatever, you have to do this bad thing. So it's like, we have that, and you're piling the treacheries in the exploration deck. Like, I think it would have been fine. Just leave out the treacheries, and then the exploration is basically determining what location you go to, which could either be a good thing or a bad thing. And I think that's enough to convey like the whole explore thing, right? Like, you don't end up where you think you're going to, and it might be a good thing, it might be a bad thing. Yeah.
Or maybe if we're going really weird into redesign territory, maybe Explorer has to be like a trying to call your shot thing, where you're like, hey, I'm going for blue triangle, and if you get it, great, but if you wander somewhere else, then there's some effect that, you know, punishes you in some way, or something on that end. But
what about if there were, let's say, 7 locations or whatever in the deck, and when you wanted to explore, you had to test either like 2 agility or 2 investigate or intellect, and then whatever you passed by, you look at that many top cards.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And if you see the location, yeah. So something along those lines. So it still is possible to fail based on your test. But it's not, like, the negative part of it is you just lose an action.
And again, to me, that gets the thing of like, Ursula should be better at exploring by taking a test or something like that than, I don't know, Daisy or whatever. Well, I guess it'd still be similar stats, but I mean, you get what I'm saying. Like, it could, unless it's like an agility test or something. But it's just like, because right now it's all like just the luck of the draw. So like, Ursula is as able to get smashed in the face exploring as anyone else, really. And it just gives you more control over it, which I think at the end of the day, that's everyone's complaint, is just you have no control over it.
Or, I mean, you just turn it into a push your luck thing, and you can take the treachery and choose to continue to draw.
Yep.
And you just might face check all 4 or 5 treacheries in a turn. But
I feel like I do that all the time.
But then it only takes 1 action instead of 5.
Sure.
Yeah, but...
Yeah.
Well, all right. That's the hot take on Explore. Okay, so guys, since Nick isn't here and we're running a little long, I think we'll chill it on Tentacle time. Any
Agreed.
closing shots from you guys before we wrap this sucker up?
Sean, you're bad at Calvin.
No
sorry.
argument.
What kind of shots are we saying? I wasn't sure.
Shot to the face.
I would argue, except I just remitted perfect empirical evidence to the contrary. So my first Calvin campaign ended with a death before we got halfway through it. Yeah, okay, so we'll definitely get back to... I'm sure we're going to talk Red Dead Redemption next time on Tentacle Time, because it's a thing. We'll probably talk a little bit of Arkham Horror 3rd Edition on Tentacle Time, for those who might have skipped the the Arkham Knights wrap-up episode, because I've played a few more games of that, and I have more thoughts, and they're all generally pretty positive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up for this episode. So, as always, guys, if you want to contact us, do so through our Twitter, our Facebook, our now Instagram, our hotline, any number of those things which you can find at any of our venues. Pay attention to the AV Club, because now that we're through Carcosa, we are heading into the Forgotten Age, and by God, Scott, we're caught up by the end of the year, right? I'm with you, buddy.
Mm-hmm. New Year's.
We're doing it. And then we'll never, ever fall behind again.
Ever in life, in anything. Yes.
Because it's been a thing to get caught up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that wraps us up then for episode 47 of Mythos Busters. We'll catch you guys on the next one.